Well, having produce in your home can easily be taken for granted, but there's one orchard in York County that goes above and beyond, even in an unprecedented year.
In 1951, my great-grandparents, Jacob, John, and Minnie Flinchbaugh, moved here to Hallam Township. It was a 57-acre farm, which you're standing on today, and purchased this land. It wasn't until about 10 or 15 years after they moved here that they started selling directly to the consumer, I guess you could say. It was more peddling back then than it was called a farm market or something you see today. I still remember my grandma, the farmhouse was, like 100 feet from where she sold. So, we're closed, but she's still getting knocks on the door. She's still going out and helping people after hours or early morning, whatever it was, she was there to support them.
Celebrating 75 years after opening in 1951, Flinchbaugh Farm in York County has seen a little bit of everything, but this year brought something different to the family-owned farm.
We froze pretty much everything. We have about an 80% loss on our apples and about 90% loss on all of our other fruits. So, when you're picking 100 baskets, usually you're picking 10 now or less.
But even faced with adversity, the family was quick to spring into action and find a way to continue to do what they do best.
When you work in the fruit world, you work closely with a lot of your peers. And so thankfully we did have connections with people outside of Pennsylvania, outside of the freeze area, that we were able to quickly call and say, hey, it's not looking good here at Flinchbaugh's or at York County. Do you think you would be having an extra crop that you could be sharing with us?
After working with a few farms in Virginia and North Carolina, Flinchbaugh's is still bringing smiles to kids' faces this year, even though
this season's gonna look different. My dad never remembers in his lifetime experiencing a loss this drastic across all of our fruit. So I don't even have a history lesson to go to and be like, well, this is how we handled it. So we're really learning as we go.
And this has been a learning experience for them, which they pass on to the kids.
As far as groups coming out to the farm, this spring, in the days and weeks right after our freeze, we had school kids out here. We had parents out here in our orchards, and we were able to show them pictures of what our trees looked like last year versus what they look like this year. There was no fruit growing on them. And so it was almost an opportunity for us to explain, this is nature. This is out of our hands.
One of Keene's biggest worries was how they were going to be able to still help and provide for our community.
I just was thinking about how much fruit we've donated over the year. Last year too, I had my administrative staff pull those numbers, and I was like, all those organizations that I can't give peaches to this year, all those organizations that I'm not gonna have plentiful apples to share with. What's that gonna do to their event? What's that gonna do to the people that they are supporting?
Keene hopes this is just a bump in the road and that things can get back to normal next year, but that doesn't change this year.
It is a blip. And I literally have been saying we're pivoting with joy through this, because I hope and pray that next year is not the same. Hopefully we have a different story written out for us next year. But we're here today, so we're gonna live here today. We're gonna solve today's problems before we worry about anything in the future.
They take everything to heart here and have an underlying theme.
We want people to leave here saying, I don't wanna leave, I don't wanna leave, but it's because they had so much value from being here.
The market is in its 20th anniversary this year, and the farm itself celebrating 75 years during America 250. They're open year-round, welcoming everyone in to try their delicious breads or produce, picking out some beautiful flowers, or, depending on the time of year, maybe a pumpkin.